clean up while I'm up here, Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, my new Christmas gift, Leslie. Don't you love her? Yeah. Aren't we glad she's in our community? I feel like she's my new sparkly Christmas gift. Or Hanukkah gift, whatever. Oh, hi, Jack and Seva. Nice to see you, newly married Jack and Seva. Congratulations again. Oh, isn't it nice to feel like we're one big spiritual family? We're all here together and for each other, and I love it. I love it. So, everybody knows what today is, right? First day of Hanukkah, yes. So I was reminded of something that Dr. Ernest Holmes said when he was asked to define our faith or philosophy. He said that we are a synthesis of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelations of religion applied to the human needs and aspirations of humankind. So I'm going to say that one more time because I think it's really cool. In defining or describing our faith, we are a synthesis of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelations of religion applied to human needs and the aspiration of humankind. Don't you love that? It's amazing. I love that I'm a part of a community that is like that. Dr. Holmes, he was really a mystic. He recognized the truth that ran in and through all faiths, and that we didn't need to cut off science or philosophy or only stick with one religion in order to recognize the whole beings that we are. But in fact, the spiritual path, the spiritual journey of opening up to more and more and more helps us recognize the wholeness of this symphony that I call life, using every aspect of it as an instrument in this symphony that is our life. And so, in honor of the revelations of religion, this month we will be focusing on a few different holy days. We're going to celebrate Bodhi Day, which is the day that the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and found enlightenment, or became enlightened. We'll be celebrating Yalda, which is the celebration of the winter solstice. We will be celebrating the magic and metaphysics of Christmas. And then we will also top it off with the contemporary celebration of Kwanzaa. So that's what our month looks like. Sound good? Yeah? We just get to celebrate it all here, I think that's really cool. So what I want to do is give a little bit of history behind each of these cultural faith holy days, and then share why it's important to us, why we should even care. What does it mean? Because what matters if it doesn't have meaning and purpose in our lives, right? Nothing is significant if we can't relate to it. So that's what we'll be doing this Sunday. We'll be looking at the Hanukkah experience and finding relevance today and relevance and importance in our own life. And I want to share two things about the experience of Hanukkah. First, I want to share about the menorah. So the original menorah was said to be told by God to Moses to create a seven-stemmed pure gold lampstand representing the creation, the 7 days of creation that they believed in, and knowledge. And it represented knowledge because they would light it at night, and that was when they would read their sacred text. And so Moses would carry this menorah with him and in his journeys off in the desert, and when he would light it, it would become like an altar. And so that's where the seven-stemmed menorah came from. Nowadays, you'll see 8 and 9, and we'll talk about that later, but that's the menorah. And so I want to talk a little bit about the history of Hanukkah itself. So we all know the Jews have been oppressed many, many times. This is one very horrific time in the Jewish history. It was about 200 BCE, before the Common Era. And Syria took over Jerusalem, took over all of Israel. And the king reigned, the Syrian king reigned, but he was a benevolent king. So he let the Jews believe what they wanted to. Although they were enslaved to the Syrian king, slavery was a little bit different. They were able to live in their houses and have their jobs. They were just oppressed by the ruler, which, if it wasn't bad enough, then he died and his son took the reins. And he completely massacred thousands of Jews. He told them that they weren't allowed to have their beliefs anymore. He forced them to believe in Greek gods. And he even desecrated their sacred temple by putting up an altar of Zeus. And if you know these two philosophies, they're extraordinarily different, and it would be extremely hurtful for any of us. Any of us. Could you imagine having your own personal faith ripped away from you and you're forced to believe what somebody else is telling you, which you think is completely out of alignment with who you are? That is very hard. Very hard. But never fear, because the Jews are very persistent. Judah Maccabee and his 5 sons, they led the rebellion. I love the rebellion. They led the rebellion against the Syrians, and after about 2 years of brutal fighting, they finally kicked out all the Syrians and began to rebuild their land. And here's where the miracle of Hanukkah takes place. So Judah asked a few people to come help him cleanse the temple. And when they went in to light the menorah, they only had 1 cup worth of olive oil to light the menorah, and that was only going to last for 1 day. But they needed it lit for quite a while because they needed to be able to start reading their sacred scripture again. They needed to be able to be in their worship again. And they didn't know where they were going to find any more olive oil because their land had been completely destroyed. And so they put the oil in the menorah, and it began to stay lit. And the next night, it was lit. And the night after that, it stayed lit. 1 day's worth of oil lasted 8 days until they were able to find more. And this is the miracle of Hanukkah, the light prevailing over darkness. And so the Jewish sages declared it a holiday. They declared it a holy day. It is called the Festival of Lights, or what is also known as Hanukkah. And as interesting and exciting as this story is, the history of it, what does it mean to us? What meaning is there in it for us, right? Because there's so many events and experiences and wars and situations that go on in the world, but why is this one so special and so significant that it has lasted centuries upon centuries and been celebrated? I believe it's for 2 reasons. Well, 2 reasons that come up for me why it's significant. It's the light that continues burning, and it is that rebellion. Every one of us, you can possibly say you haven't, but I'm just going to assume you have. I know I have. Every one of us has felt enslaved to something, yes? Whether it's our own thoughts, our own feelings, a relationship, a society, poisonous feelings like resentment and anger, being in a poisonous relationship, feeling oppressed by our socioeconomic status. Whatever it is, there are times in our lives where we feel so oppressed, so enslaved, so caught in this, that it's hard to find our way out. It's hard. I know it's hard. But then there comes a moment when it gets even worse. Sorry guys. Just wait till the rebellion comes. Hold on a second. It gets worse because, honestly, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's happened to me, I know. After it gets really bad, you start to look around and realize that you've let your faith slip away too. That all of the things that you used to do, that all of the spiritual practices that we would do to keep us in alignment with who we are, all of the joy that we felt, all of the kindness, and all of those little things that are our own personal religion, our own personal philosophy, they start to fall away too. Just like that Syrian prince who ripped away a people's faith after they were already imprisoned, enslaved. What more can you take away? And how many times have we taken away our own faith? How many times has our faith slipped away when we were in suffering? When we felt imprisoned? Yeah. Dang it, how that happens, right? It's like, God, it's like the last thing you want to happen. And sometimes it's the first thing to go. But here's the exciting part. But there is a light that flickers within us. We are incarnations of the divine, okay? So no matter how bad it gets, that's always going to be the truth. And the rebellion comes. And I see it. I've felt it in myself when I stepped back into a center for spiritual living. I see it in people in classes. I see it when people come to me and say, oh, I feel like I'm home. I've taken my life back. That's the rebellion. It's rising above the negativity. It's rising above the apparent evil and suffering. It's rising above the disabilities, the mental illnesses, the depression, the anxiety. It's rising above and saying, that's enough. I am going to fight. I am going to fight for myself, and I'm going to fight for the good that I know. I'm going to fight for the good that I know. That good with a capital G. And so we begin with the rebellion. And then, eventually, it comes to pass that we begin to light our menorah, our inner menorah, with that 1 cup of oil, with that one affirmative thought, with that one new thought that begins to transform and change everything. That one step spreads out and lasts for longer than we could ever imagine. I took one step into a center and said, I'm in. And 9 years later, here I am, whole, healthy. And it is my soul, it is my heart's and soul's desire to continue the rebellion in this life for all of us. And I know it's hard sometimes. I know it's hard when I say or when you hear that you're perfect, because you are. But it doesn't feel like it. But we are perfectly flawed. We are perfectly whole. We are perfectly perfect. We are perfectly unique. And we are whole. We are multifaceted, multidimensional beings with multiple sub-personalities. For real. We hold paradoxes within us. We hold contradictions within us. And that is okay. That's what makes a whole being. A whole circle encompasses all of it. Right? And that's what we are. And when we hold on to that light of truth, that's going to last. And it'll last, and it'll last, and it'll last until the next spark, next idea of truth comes in. And that will last. And if you begin to forget, come talk to me. My number, my text message, email me. I don't care. I'm here. I'll remind you. And so what I want to do now is I want to light the menorah. Is there anyone here who knows the 3 blessings in Hebrew? Okay, then I'll just do it in English. Last service there was, and I forgot to ask. Okay. So this morning we'll light the first menorah. So I'll just tell you a little bit more. There's either an 8-branched menorah for the Hanukkah or a 9-branched. And a 9-branched means that The tallest one is supposed to be the helper, and you're supposed to start from your guys' far right and move left. But we're going to keep this one as the helper because generally it's in the middle. So I'm going to light the helper candle, and then we'll say the traditional blessing in English. Blessed are you, Lord, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to light the light of Hanukkah. Blessed are you, Lord, our God, sovereign of the universe, who performed miracles for our ancestors in those days and at this time, who has kept us alive. Blessed are you, Lord, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this season of light. And so I invite us into an affirmative prayer now. Oh, just recognizing and feeling and knowing the light that is here. It shines so brightly in my heart, and I know it shines in each and every one of your eyes when I look into them. I feel the love that is universal, that one heartbeat, that one deep breath of life. And every one of us is a creation of this universal intelligence that says yes to life. And so we are. It says yes, and so we are perfect beings in the mind of God. We are perfectly dwelling in the house, in the kingdom of good. There is life within us, no matter what our struggles are, no matter what darkness might appear, there is a light so bright beyond it. And I invite us to rise into the rebellion, to rebel against the negativity, to rebel against all those who oppress us, all of the oppression of our thoughts and our past. It is gone now. It is wiped clean. It is as nothing in the mind of the divine. And I affirm this for myself, and I affirm it for every single one of us here who chooses to live in love and live in truth and move slowly, one step at a time, further up that ever-winding, ever-ascending staircase of consciousness. And so I give my words to that infinite mind that says yes. Yes, Nicole, it is so. And so it is. Amen. Amen.